Hey guys, hi, welcome back once again. My name is Vaishali, and having learned a few things from and through human interactions, from within human interactions, and to a degree through self reflection, and having pursued my master's in business administration and clinical psychology, I today wish to talk about understanding the difference between subconscious and our conscious, essentially implying talking about the things that are happening beneath the level of our awareness, on an autopilot, in an automatic way, without giving it a lot of thought, and things that are happening at the level of awareness, which are respectively called as the subconscious and the conscious. And like a lot of scientists, a lot of researchers would tell us today that our subconscious is primarily built on habits, habits that are repeated time and time again. Habits that become a part of our muscle memory. Habits that become a part of our nervous system memory. And we are actually living and functioning and working through those memory build-ups, through those habit build-ups, for most days of our lives, wherein it's happening in an automatic way and we are not deliberately engaging with it. We are not giving it a lot of thought, or maybe any thought at all. We are not essentially engaged with it because the repetition of those things have been done so often, have been repeated so many times that it kind of slides out from our conscious awareness. So, in order to understand this in a simpler way, let's consider an example. Now, most of us who've learnt English, who speak English, and can read or write English, would have learnt the alphabets from A to Z or A to Z. And if I were to ask all those people who speak English, who can read and write English, to say out the alphabets aloud from A to Z or A to Z, many of us would go A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L, M, N, O, P, Q, R, S, T, U, V, W, X, Y, Z, or Z. And many would go even a lot faster than the speed at which I just spoke. And in a way, if we actually reflect about it, if we just give it a little thought, we would realize that it's a muscle memory that has been built in our tongues, that's embedded in our heads, that's been memorized by our hearts, and in a way, our body, because all of these parts are a part of our body. And with repetition, they have become a part of our muscle memory, wherein the words follow one after the other and we are not giving it much thought, or rather, any thought at all. And now, on the other hand, if we were asked to speak the same alphabets, to give a narration of the same alphabets from Z or Z to A, many of us would fumble and tumble. Many of us would find it very hard to say the same alphabets from Z or Z to A in a very fluent, flowing manner. In fact, to a large degree, many of us would focus really hard to, in a way, visualize the entire series of alphabets from Z to A. And it takes a very deliberate effort. It takes a very deliberate focus in order to start recollecting the alphabets from Z to A or from Z to A. And if we were asked to speak it as fluently as we speak from A to Z or A to Z, it would take us months or years to kind of learn to say it in the same speed, with same fluidity, with same effortlessness that we speak from A to Z or A to Z. Because like every muscle memory, like building up any habit which builds over time, even this effort would take time and deliberate effort and focus. It would require us to move out of our comfort zones. It would need some extra time to be given to learn the alphabets the other way round. And not just that, it would even require us to slow ourselves down even while we narrate the alphabets from Z or Z to A to become a part of our subconscious, to become a part of our habit, to become a part of our memory. muscle memory, the body memory. Now let's take another example. To function more efficiently or to function more effectively, one of our hands has been more dominantly used compared to the other hand. It comes as an automatic reaction, as a memory reaction, that when we are about to write something or pick up something, we'll use the hand that has been dominantly used for most of our lives in order to work efficiently and effectively, in order to conserve time, effort, and energy. And now, for once, if we take the effort to use our non dominant hand, or rather a supporting hand, to do the writing work or to do some important work, if we consciously observe, there would be a few things that are happening differently. So, say supposedly, if we consider the act of writing something, firstly, the handwriting will not be as smooth and feel as effortless. Secondly, we'll notice that we are taking a lot longer to do the same work. Thirdly, we'll also notice that the non-dominant hand gets tired a lot sooner. Fourthly, we'll also start to notice that if we've got to write longer pages, it would start to irritate and annoy us, even frustrate us. Fifth, we'll also notice that we would like to cheat and go back to using the dominant hand so as to just finish the task in hand. If we get a little more aware, a little more conscious, and if we observe more mindfully and carefully, we'll also notice that the book or the page or the notebook that we are writing on, the angle of that book, the page or the notebook shifts. We'd also notice that we grip the writing instrument, either pen or pencil or chalk, a little more harder, because somewhere that muscle memory, that practiced memory, that habitual memory is not there with the muscles of the non-dominant hand. And we wouldn't like to lose that instrument or for that instrument to fall off, and thereby we hold it a little tighter, a little harder. Going ahead and paying a little more attention, we'll also notice that the angle of our body shifts a bit. And maybe our body is not as relaxed, but it goes closer and tighter in order to have more control. That our bodies might not be as relaxed as it is when we are using our dominant hand to write or do something else. And since our posture has shifted and since our posture has moved, it has become more rigid, more tight, a little more constrained and constricted. We'd also notice that the position of our back muscles, of our neck muscles, of our shoulder muscles, of our hip muscles have shifted, have tensed up, have constricted. They are taking a lot more effort, they are putting in a lot more effort to do the same job consciously, to do the same job deliberately, intently, and as effectively as possible, as neatly as possible. And lastly, what we'd not notice is that when we are using our non-dominant hand to write or do something, we are in most way using the other hemisphere of the brain, which we do not use with the same intensity and focus when we are using our dominant hand, which has become dominant out of the habitual, repetitive usage. And in a way, when we are doing these exercises, we are rewiring our subconscious. We are rewiring and changing the neuromuscular system of our body, because our body is our subconscious. Our body is a storehouse of all of the memories, physical, emotional, personal, and interpersonal, that have accumulated over time. So, when we do want to talk about the subconscious and the conscious, we'd understand that working out of consciousness requires focused, deliberate, intentional effort. It requires us moving out of our comfort zone. It requires us to spend more energy, more brain energy, because we are trying to do things differently. It requires us to slow down, to actually really slow down. It requires us to get aware of the minutest details, of the nuances of those details. It requires us to move out of the automatic, of the autopilot. It requires us to challenge our own system on a neuromuscular level, that we are creatures of habit. And any habit, if that starts to control you, you essentially are no longer in charge of your own life and your decisions. But it's your habits, it's your patterns that is now controlling you, that is in charge of your decision making processes, that is in charge of your thoughtfulness or thoughtlessness, of your responses and of your reactivities. Now, if I take up another example, I had asked a few people a few weeks back to draw color and then share with me the image of the grass that they can draw and color or color. And these were the images that I got. And from all of these images, there was one image that looked a little different, wherein the grass was represented like a bamboo shoot, which actually is a grass as well, which again kind of tells us that how many of us actually think alike, how many of us have been programmed to think about some things in almost the same or similar ways. That out of so many people, it was only one person who could represent grass a little differently, which in a way also tells us how our collective subconscious works, how group mentality works, and how it influences and impacts not only the small things about our lives, not only the small decisions about our lives, not only the small thoughts of our lives, but even our bigger decisions in our lives. So let's take up these small activities that I had shared in this video to try and become more conscious about our own subconscious, to try and truly understand what conscious awareness is all about. Let's try and do that for ourselves, and I will see you once again the next week. Till then, stay tuned in. And guys, if you do like the contextual content of these videos, please do like, share, and subscribe.